Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. I'm Bill Anderson, and we're coming live from the Costa del Sol. It's a beautiful sunny day here, blue skies, a little bit of nice light wispy clouds on the horizon, but it's a beautiful day today. Now, I'm going to introduce you to someone that I know actually rather well because I married her 12 years ago. Vicky, welcome to Expat Radio.
Thank you, Bill. I'm happy to be here.
Okay, I should just give a warning here that we do have three dogs. And at the moment they're all sleeping, but if if we get a sort of round of barking, it's a possibility. Okay, Vicky, no one is going to hear it from your accent, but where are you from?
Well, I'm originally from Madrid, Spain, even though I was made in Germany, then taken to Australia when I was about 8 years old, came back to Spain, and here in the Costa del Sol for the last 15 years.
Yeah, so you're kind of like a sort of one person League of Nations.
Yes. When people ask me, where are you from? I really don't know because the first thing that comes to mind is I'm from the world.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, it was a bit more complicated though, wasn't it? Than just, Spain, Australia, Spain. We'll come to that in just a moment. Um, but you've been an expat, albeit a Spanish expat in Australia. So you went there when you were about 8, yeah?
Yeah, yeah, Bill. It's very funny because you're always the expat there. You're always the person that comes from outside. And well, they have a name for that, but I won't say it on radio. I want to be politically correct. But okay, all the Europeans were called a certain name. When I came back to Spain, I was the outsider too. So I felt at that moment in time that I really didn't belong to any place and I belonged to every place.
Yeah. But were your years in Australia a good experience overall,
Oh,
or?
yes, it was lovely. I grew up there. I finished my studies there. I learned a beautiful language, a different way of thinking. I think for me it was a blessing.
Mm.
The energies of Australia are very strong, and they were very, very beneficial for my health. I was a weekly child.
Uh-huh.
And no, the climate and everything, it was fantastic. I think it's one of my fondest memories, Australia.
Yeah, and what people may not be aware of, I mean, you were born and grew up in Madrid, and people think, oh, Madrid is Spain, nice climate and whatever. But once you move, I mean, Madrid's pretty much right in the center of Spain. It's completely surrounded by land. Um, it's a fairly extreme climate, isn't it?
Madrid is very cold in winter. I mean, people don't even think that it can snow in Madrid some winters when we've got the Sierra Nevada.
Yeah.
Not Sierra Nevada is here
No,
in Granada. What is it called? I
Sierra de
forgot.
las Nieves, is it?
It's the I forgot now. There you go. But anyway, yes, it's very cold and very hot. Extremes. Hot in summer. Nobody's. August in Madrid is like a desert town because it's so hot there. Everybody's out on holiday.
Yeah, they're all down here on the Costa del Sol.
Exactly.
Yes, Spaniards seem to like, maybe a generalization, but they seem to like staying in Spain for their holidays. And if they live inland, they want to come down to the coast, don't they?
Yeah, well, I grew up in a generation where going abroad was not the thing to do. I mean, I was born in the 60s, so
Right.
I remember growing up, the most that you could actually aspire is to go to either Alicante or to some near coast where it wasn't very expensive.
Benidorm.
Oh, Benidorm. And yeah, this going abroad on holidays is much more new in Spain, probably the last 20, 30 years.
But I think there's a very simple reason for that, that, people in Spain, although they tell us that the average salary is, I don't know, 25,000 or 30,000 or something. Um, Traditionally, people in Spain, unless you were a politician, didn't make a lot of money.
Or you, my darling, as a politician, you don't make that amount of money anyway.
I think I must be the only politician in Spain that took a wage cut to
Exactly,
become a politician. Yeah.
exactly. No, it's always been about the economy. Obviously, when Spain got up on its feet and younger people started going abroad, it's been a different ambience. But when I grew up, the ambience was, if you could afford to go on holiday, you went to the coast or to the campo or to your village.
Yeah.
But we didn't get to go anywhere. So the first time I actually left my neighborhood was when we left for Australia, which was a big thing for me.
Yeah. How was you were 8 years old? How was the experience of traveling by airplane for all these hours and stopping over probably in Singapore or something like that?
Well, it's about perspectives. My perspective, my memory is I was really excited. Apparently, I was a pain in the ass.
So some things haven't changed.
Some things do never change, Bill. You know that. Apparently, I was sick all the way on the plane, and yes, I do remember getting off the plane in Australia and this heat wave hitting me and this sticky smell from Australia from the gum trees,
Right.
which was quite unknown to me, and my stomach churned and I threw up right in the middle of the airport, much to my embarrassment. But yeah, in my view, in my mind, it was really exciting. It was like going on an adventure.
Right, right. So when you came back, well, you have two brothers and a sister, I should say,
Yes.
and when you came back, they stayed in Australia because you were just under 18, weren't you? And your
Yes.
parents insisted that you came back
Yes,
with
I
them.
had to come. I didn't want to come, and now I don't want to go. But yes, my elder brothers and sisters stayed back, and I missed Australia. Oh, the first years I was really, really homesick. Yeah.
Yeah, and probably you had to do something to improve your Spanish, no?
Yes, because I was speaking very cryptic Spanish with an Australian accent, and most people say, "Where are you from?" And I kept thinking, "Well, what do you mean? I'm from here. I'm from Madrid." And it's like, nah, nah. I had a funny accent when I came in, and my Spanish was rather rusty.
Yeah, it was probably like a 7 or 8 year old Spanish, really. It
Exactly.
hadn't developed because you didn't go to school here, and
Exactly.
yeah,
And people say, well, didn't you speak Spanish at home? Well, I don't know how many people, I think a lot of people are in my situation where how much did you speak to your parents when you were growing up? I mean, nothing.
yeah. And did you tend to speak English with your brothers and
Exactly,
sister?
that was it. We turned
Yeah.
into English, and actually, it was beneficial for us because mom and dad wouldn't understand what we were saying. So that was really good. It was fun, but yeah, coming back was a culture shock.
Hmm.
And Madrid, it's a lovely city, but Australia is so beautiful, vast, and I lived on the east coast, Brisbane, near Paradise and the
Yeah.
Gold Coast. So
Not many surfers in Madrid.
no, it was all going back from like a very exotic tropical island to a big city,
Yeah.
and no, it wasn't fun the first year. But now, since I'm down here at the coast, I just don't want to go anywhere else.
Right. But you made a stop between Madrid and the coast because you actually moved back to your parents' home. Well, I'm going to say hometown, but it's a very small town,
It's
isn't
a
it?
small village. Yeah, by that time I had married and had two girls, and I didn't want to raise them in a big city like that. It was becoming really dangerous. So we decided to move into my parents' hometown, which was in Jaén, or a village of Jaén in Andalusia. And we went there on holiday several times, and we just absolutely loved the experience of a village.
Right.
But that was on holiday,
Mm.
and we moved. And 3 years later, I was pulling my hair out. I just couldn't do with the village mentality. I felt
Yeah.
so odd.
Just to explain, it's very much an inland village. It's not a village on the coast.
No,
It's
no.
an inland village. It's
It's a
about
rural,
2 hours from where
yes,
we are in La
very
Pala.
rural area. And honestly, it was like stepping back in time. The
Yeah,
mentality of the people, I couldn't believe it. And so, as much as I tried to make friends there, I left 10 years later with nobody I could resonate with at all. It was like done and dusted. I'm out of there. And
yeah. It's a very romantic notion, though, isn't it? Moving to a small town or a big village,
yes,
and the idea that when you get out your house, you meet people that you know, and you can
yes,
chat to them,
yes.
and but it didn't feel like that after a
No,
few
it didn't
years.
feel, it felt as if everybody knew everything about you
Yeah,
and you didn't know anybody
yeah,
because the gossip is absolutely astonishing there. And
yeah.
I just couldn't believe that by the time a week had passed since I moved, everybody knew that I came from Madrid, that
Uh-huh.
my ex-husband then is a mechanic, that I had two daughters, their names, what
Yeah,
school they were going, and I was going to myself, Australia is a very private country. You mind your own business.
yeah, yeah,
And oh my goodness, that was another second culture shock.
yeah. Well, as you know, obviously, I spent 6 months working at a town actually not very far from there, inland, because I'd been offered a good job there. And I travelled home at weekends, but I remember, I think I went over on a Monday morning, and I thought, oh, let's go and have a little look around the town. And I'm walking down the street, and three elderly gentlemen stopped in their tracks, and they're looking at me coming towards them. And it's like, I know what they were thinking. Like, who are you? You're not from here.
Yeah, yeah, I can visualize that. It's happened many times to me, so I can actually
Yeah,
visualize that. But yeah, another experience. At least my daughters grew up in a quieter setting,
sure.
a healthier setting where I didn't even have to go and pick them up. Well, they were older by then, but you didn't have to be at the door of the school, at the gates,
Yeah,
waiting for your kid because you feared that something was going to happen to them. Everybody knew everybody, and it was quite a more relaxed lifestyle. And I still do it again if I had to.
yeah, but not now.
Not now. They're grown and
Yeah.
flown the nest.
You had your years there, and then eventually you moved down to the Costa del Sol.
Yes.
What was that about? Just in general, why the Costa del Sol?
Well, initially my parents bought an apartment here, and then my two brothers eventually came from Australia because they missed Spain, and they came to this area and fell in love with it. So eventually they moved. By that time, when I was deciding to leave the village, I decided to come down to them. They
Right,
lived here in this area by then.
right, okay. And you felt something kind of special about this area after living in Madrid, after living in this inland village. What was your feeling about the Costa del
Oh,
Sol?
it was very freeing. It was like breathing oxygen.
Mm.
International community. I could actually speak English now.
Yeah,
I missed the. It's not only the English language; it's the mentality that goes with it.
right.
And I really did miss. It reminded me of Australia a lot in
Okay.
that sense.
Yeah, yeah,
So I thought, I was in love with the lifestyle here. The weather's nice. It's not so extreme, and there's an international community, and I feel half Spanish, but the other half also is there
yeah,
and needed to be nurtured, which is international.
yeah. And you did struggle coming from Australia to the sort of back to the bureaucracy and things of Spain,
Oh,
didn't you?
yes, yes. And I have to remind every expat here, it's not about racism. They are like that with everybody. I'm a Spaniard, and I was pulling my hair out also
Yeah.
with the whole process of doing my documents and everything. So people generally think that that's because I'm an expat,
I
or
know. Yeah.
and they're making it difficult for me because I'm a foreigner.
Yeah.
No, they make it difficult for
For everyone.
everybody.
Yeah, I think that is true actually. Right. We're going to move on in just a moment, But you discovered something when you moved down to Alcaudete, this village in the Jaén province.
Mm-hmm.
You discovered you had an allergy, didn't you?
Oh gosh. Oh my goodness, do I have to talk about this? After pressing my ex-husband then that didn't want to leave Madrid and we needed to go to a healthier, better place for our girls. And it took me 2 years to convince him. So by the time we arrived there, it was January. We did the whole move. By April, May, I started to get horribly sick. I went to the doctors, who then referred me to the allergy,
Allergy doctor, whatever they
yes,
call them.
yes, whatever they call them. And, yes, they did the test, and I was 100% allergic to olive pollen. And there's nothing else but olive trees
I know.
over there.
When we spoke to Paul and Cassia, who did this walk from Cordoba and down to La Cala a few weeks ago, it was, and Paul kept on saying, and olive trees, and olive trees, and olive trees.
Actually, I enjoyed that show because every time he said the trees, my heart went out to him, and I said, I know what you feel. There's nothing but olive trees for kilometers. So imagine the air was thick with yellow pollen.
Yeah.
And I had asthma attacks. I had to go to hospital. It was horrendous. And so that's what I discovered as I moved that year. And I was already there. We had sold everything. We had come down. It took me 2 years to convince my ex. And then it's like, I can't live here.
Oh, my goodness. So it does move us on to an area that we're going to talk about, because I don't know if it was around that time that you started becoming interested in, well, a number of things. One was food and nutrition, and the other one was natural medicine.
Yes.
Did these things coincide in any way, or did they come before?
Oh, they came before. I can tell you, Bill, that the first encyclopedia I've ever owned was medicinal herbs and plants that I actually made my dad to buy me from a salesman that came to the door.
Right.
And I want that, and I must have been like 14 maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
But you reckon that probably goes back to a previous life when you were a witch that was burned at the stake or something?
I joke about it, but I think it rings true because I've always joked about it. I've always said that, oh, this comes from a previous life. I must have been burnt as the witch. And at first it was funny, but then as life goes on, you start thinking, wait a minute, could this be a memory?
So what was it that kind of attracted you to, or attracted you about natural medicine?
I have no idea what it was. I had this natural pull towards it, and a natural antipathy towards pharma, or pharmaceuticals. So by the time I was 27, I was heavily invested in reading books about nutrition and dieting, and also for, cases of obesity in the family and things like that.
Yeah.
So it really, I went down that rabbit hole for years about nutrition and diets and different types of eating. So the thing is, one thing led to another, Bill, because as you know, my 2 daughters have never had pharmaceutical medication once I discovered that there was a natural remedy for everything they had.
Yeah, and just to put this into context, you're not saying that you're against conventional medicine.
No.
But if you broke your arm, you'd be quite happy going to the doctors, and if they had to do surgery and repair it or whatever.
Yes, I keep saying that to everybody. I mean, they're the big doctor. The big doctor is when you can't fix what the little doctor can fix, you go to the big doctor. You have a heart surgery, you need, you break a bone, you have to fix something. Yeah, you go to the hospital. And I'm not against antibiotics at all. I'm not against. I'm a person that isn't against. I am for. And my natural preference is natural medicine. And as a first remedy. And when things are serious, yes, of course you go to the doctor.
Yeah.
I think that we have to extract the best of the two worlds. Why should one exclude the other?
Yeah, but there are a lot of things that you wouldn't go to the doctor for as well, isn't
No,
there?
and what I meant about pharmaceuticals is that, people are used to just taking one pill for everything.
Right.
And there is an alternative remedy that with no side effects.
Yeah.
So if that can be done, I prefer that
Yeah.
to the pharmaceutical.
Do you think that there is something here, though, Vicky, that people have this notion, you go to the doctor, you get an instant fix. If you go down the natural route, you've got to be consistent, you've got to be patient.
That's what I thought, but not necessarily. I had to visit a naturopath when I was in my mid-30s, and actually the fix was quite quick.
Really?
And it's been a journey, Bill, of learning more and more about health and nutrition, which is very important, and natural remedies. And I could talk for hours on this.
Yeah.
But there is also a lot of ignorance when it comes to natural remedies. This is what people think, that they don't work or they take longer to work.
Right.
And it's not necessarily. My approach is I always try to go to the root cause.
Okay.
And not a symptom.
Uh-huh.
And this is what the medication that most people are taking without knowing is addressing a symptom, not the root cause.
Yeah, so if I have a bad pain in my neck, I can take some painkiller and it'll go away, but it doesn't actually solve what was causing the pain in the neck.
And you can testify to this, Bill. You've had a pain in your neck. I've given you a massage.
Yeah.
Relaxed, and then applied heat, and what happened?
It goes away.
It goes away. You didn't need a painkiller. Yes.
That's absolutely true. Okay, you've chosen a song for us. You've been desperate for us to play this song on the radio.
Oh, yes.
Okay, and I don't think it needs any introduction, does it? We're going to listen to John Lennon and Imagine.
Wonderful.
Oh, I was expecting a little drop after that one, Dave. You caught me out there. I'm Bill Anderson. You're listening to Expat Radio, and we're coming live from the Costa del Sol. And my guest today is someone very close to me, literally, because she's sitting right next to me, and she's also my wife, Vicky Anderson. Or I really should give you a full title.
Oh, come on then.
Called Maria Victoria Bermudez Ortega de Anderson.
Oh,
when Vicky worked for a British company down here for a number of years, they used to love to give that name.
The full name. It just sounded so glamorous to them, Maria Victoria Bermudez Ortega. And they went, oh, they rolled their eyes. I can't understand. I like Vicky. I've been called Vicky since I was 8. And Anderson because I'm married to Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, of course, in Spain, you can't change your name.
I know, but it sounds more glamorous to me.
Vicky really wanted to change her name when we got married because she thought that maybe the tax department would lose her somewhere, you know?
Yes, definitely.
But I think
Definitely.
they don't allow it here in case the tax department do lose you.
It would confuse them a bit, wouldn't it?
It would just a bit, yeah. Vicky, we started talking a little bit about your interest in natural medicine. Can you tell us a little bit about, how you've pursued that? I know a lot of personal research over many years.
Yes. Well, it started very early on, as I said, the interest to natural medicine. Then as I was raising my kids, I was reading more about nutrition. And there was a lot of things that, we needed to change in our lifestyle, like anything that came from a packet, like soups and things like that, and make everything from scratch, and natural juices, not from a carton, for added sugars. And that led to more reading. And my experience then, I worked for a company that was a diet company, at Cambridge. It had to do with nutrition, and it had to do treating people with obesity, right? I mean that's what I read about and what I did for 20 years mostly, and that's why I got that job.
Sure.
And then I started doing my own research on other things since then. For example, the existence of chemicals in everything, and that led me down another rabbit hole. I've been interested in anything that has to do with health and wellness, and also treating the mind, body, spirit organism that we are.
Right. So the thing about chemicals is probably quite useful to talk about. And you've made me very much more aware.
Mm.
Um, we go into a supermarket and you pick up I don't know, a packet of sausages or a packet of hamburgers, and actually flip it over and read the label.
Mhm.
It's shocking, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know how people, you know, apart from whether you're a meat eater or not, I don't want to offend anybody, but we eat meat in this house
Yeah.
because I believe in eating everything that is available to us, and be grateful
Mhm.
for the ability to be able to have food on our table.
Sure.
And the thing is that, yes, you see what people buy as ground beef on the packet
Yeah.
is 97% or 95% meat or beef,
Yeah.
and the other 5%, what is it? Just look at the packet and then look in the dictionary or Google it,
Yeah.
what these other additives are, and you'll be shocked.
Yeah, I mean, I gave the example of a hamburger, or a beef burger,
Yes.
perhaps more accurately. But there's a whole raft of antioxidants, preservatives,
Yes, yes,
flavor
and then
enhancers.
very complicated names to read and understand. And if you can't understand what you're reading, if it's something really foreign, because we know the ingredients of every natural thing that exists,
Sure.
So if it sounds really complicated and it looks really long and you don't know what it is, that's because it's a chemical.
Okay, and what is your take been on the effect of eating these things?
Well, it has to do with the obesity thing and losing weight and the ability to lose weight. And what most people have done for decades is counting calories,
Right.
which is, well, good luck with that. Because
Sure.
by now, after 30 years, you would have realized that counting calories is not it.
Hmm.
And most nutritionists know that it's not it. It's more than that. It's about the quality of those calories that you intake,
Right.
if they have real nutritional and natural value. So what people don't realize is these chemicals can be also hormonal disruptors.
Right.
Your body doesn't know what to do with these chemicals, so what it does, it just absorbs it, pushes it to a side. Your body starts producing more fluid to surround that chemical, and you bloat. You literally bloat, and you think, okay, well, if I'm eating 1,000 calories a day, why am I not losing weight? Well, maybe you should count the chemicals.
Right.
What's the source? The food you're eating, is it natural? Is it straight from the source? Or are you buying something from a packet that says how many calories it has? And then you're eating that. I've just had a 300-calorie lunch, but how many chemicals have
Right.
you? Your body doesn't know how to do what to do with those
I-
chemicals.
and how easy is it to buy, and I'm going to say packaged food rather than processed, but packaged food that's not got chemicals in it? How easy is it?
Oh, I don't think it's very easy, because even the lettuce and most people don't know this. They go for salads. They go to the supermarket, which they think, well, the healthy option is these salad leaves,
Yeah.
and they look very attractive, and they are, okay? But they don't know the amount of chlorine that they have to wash them with to put them in that plastic bag so it stays nice and fresh for over a week on the shelf.
Right.
And the amounts of chlorine are very dangerous to if you consume too much, and you could be eating salad every single day, and that the chlorine in your body starts accumulating.
And I suppose when, I don't know, maybe I'm completely wrong here, but I suppose when people buy a bag of salad leaves or something like that, they kind of assume it's ready just to take out the bag and eat, no?
No, it isn't. I mean, we buy those sometimes, but you've seen what I've done. I put them in a wash basin. I soak them for a long time. I put a little bit of bicarbonate soda and just, rinse them again and again
Right.
to try to get all the chlorine out.
So even the things that look like a healthy option are not necessarily
No, and
healthy.
these are things that wouldn't be necessarily on a packet. It contains chlorine.
Sure,
Exactly.
of
So,
course.
but people don't know this.
Yeah. And then, so that's a very simple example. And we are sort of moving in this area of cutting some of the chemicals out.
Yes.
What other things can we do in terms of our diet to cut chemicals out?
Well, we have to be honest and also take the mid road because there's no way we can cut everything out. It's impossible. What the soil is being treated with when they're growing the crops, what the chemtrails are doing to our environment, what is in our water, we can't cut all the rubbish out, unfortunately, but we could at least have a mid road and say, okay, how many things can I avoid?
Yeah.
Well, what we can absolutely do is when we're buying something at the supermarket, just look at the label.
Yeah.
Look at the label and see if it's natural product.
And as I said, it can be quite shocking when you look at it.
Exactly, exactly. Because even you know, and I know, we like dates,
Yes.
and we've bought dates from the supermarket. And when you look at the label, it's dates and some kind of E number, conservative.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we actually buy
Preservative. Sorry, I said the Spanish word.
yeah, yeah, because preservative in Spanish is something
Yes,
else,
it's
isn't
something
it?
else. Yes, it is. We won't go there now.
And we actually buy our dates from a supplier in
A
Morocco.
Moroccan,
Yeah,
a Moroccan supplier.
Moroccan, and they
Yeah.
are just
Yeah.
dates.
But
Yeah.
we are very lucky because even living in this side of the world, we do get farmers markets and we get fresh fruits and vegetables from the local markets.
We
It's
do,
it's
yeah.
it's not so difficult to get good source out good ingredients, fruits, vegetables.
And
And if you eat meat, well, just go to your local butcher and don't buy anything from a packet.
yeah, I mean, you can see sometimes though with even fruit and veg, when you buy it from the farmer's market, it doesn't last for 6 weeks in your fruit bowl.
No, it doesn't. But that's a good sign.
That's yeah, it is
Yeah.
a good sign because
Yeah.
there's nothing there to actually preserve it.
Exactly, no artificial anything.
Yeah.
What people failed, you don't notice when you're eating these foods. You think you have no symptoms and that you're okay, but these chemicals accumulate in your body for years, and your body doesn't know how to metabolize these things. And you're going to store these chemicals, and it's going to come out in lumps in your body, or it's going to come out as something.
Yeah.
Each person is a different, and I'm not an expert. This is a disclaimer, right? I'm not an expert. This is my personal experience. My personal experience is that I started noticing that my energy levels were so low, but my diet was rubbish. This was at the age of 27. That was the first book I've ever read about nutrition. And then that created a hunger and a thirst to know more. So it was more and more books about diets and nutrition.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There have also been some other fad stuff apart from all these chemicals, because we know that even with fruit and veg, they're picked too early, they're stored for too long, they're sometimes treated with stuff, even
Yeah.
apples with wax and all sorts of stuff like that we
Yeah.
we might eat, but also fads to do with low fat and low salt and all
Yes.
of these kind of things.
Which, me personally, this is my personal experience too. And please, if anybody's listening out there and they are an expert and they think they know better, well, forgive me because I'm just talking about my personal experience, okay? According to what I've researched and I've come to learn is that these other products that are low fats and low salts, they have to compensate with something else to add flavor.
Right.
And that's usually chemicals.
Right.
or
Okay.
enhancers,
Hmm.
and they're not healthier because your body can actually deal with calories. Your body burns those calories, metabolizes them, but your body can't metabolize is these chemicals.
The chemicals, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you have fats have got a really bad name, haven't they? Yeah,
Yes.
they
Yeah.
are the enemy. Fats,
Yes.
cut the
Yes.
fats out your diet.
Yes. Yes. And I've had this for years and years and years. And you know me.
Hmm.
I prefer butter to margarine just
Yes.
because it's natural, and I actually love chips in dripping. And I weigh 48 kilos. Anybody that sees me, I'm not obese at all.
No, no.
Anybody that looks at me will say, what do you do? And I don't diet. It's just a lifestyle.
Yeah, and I would have to just add to that. It's 48 kilos soaking wet on a bad day.
But the thing is, no, it's what I want people to understand is that there's so much you can do, and just take the mid road. Be balanced. We can't uh, avoid
Hmm.
every single chemical that's out there.
Yeah,
But there is a relationship between chemicals and cancer for the last 50 years when they
right.
started introducing fast foods and packaged products and things like that in the last 50, 60 years.
Hmm.
That's how the cancer rates have increased, and it's through what we're eating and drinking.
Yeah. I mean, you made it very clear that this is what you're talking about is your experience.
Yes.
But you have actually studied, I know it was for a period of time, but you studied naturopathy
Yes.
and sports massage, which involved a lot of anatomy
Yes.
and whatever. Can you tell us a little bit
Physiology.
about that?
Well, it's always my interest because doing the health and wellness and the healing, how can I help people heal? Well, if I learned as much as I can to be able to give advice, someone that comes to me and says, what can I do? Well, I decided to go down the route of understanding the human body. So I did a holistic massage course just because it was necessary to do that before I went into naturopathy. But it was very good because I had to learn the whole anatomy and physiology,
Hmm.
um, learn every muscle, learn the name of every bone. It was a pain in the backside, but actually I enjoyed it because it's something that I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then I did 6 months of naturopathy,
Hmm.
and that also broadened my perspectives because it also has to now include the emotional side of things, not only the physical or nutrition.
Yeah.
It's more to do about the mind
Right.
and spirit.
Okay, Vicky, we're going to take another short break, and your second choice is by Ben E. King.
Yes.
Welcome back. I'm Bill Anderson. We're coming live from the Costa del Sol, and I'm speaking to Vicky Anderson, who happens to be married to me. And we're talking about health in general, about chemicals, about food. I want to move on, Vicky, because there's another thing that you have concerns about with chemicals.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about this.
Well, I decided not many years ago that I was going to just buy handmade soaps and get rid of all the shower gels, and
Right.
if I could, the shampoos and the personal hygiene.
Yeah.
I was horrified, Bill, because I read an article and that took me down again
Another rabbit hole.
another rabbit hole, and I was horrified the amount of chemicals that we apply on our skin every single day because we do it daily, or hopefully we do it daily.
Hopefully, yeah.
So and I was also horrified because it's not only that the shower gels and any skincare product has these dangerous chemicals, but we're throwing this down the drain, and where does it go? To the sea.
It ends up in the sea. Yeah.
And I was thinking, well, if I am going to live a conscious life,
Right.
I want to do my bit, and I don't want to be participant of
This contamination.
this contamination.
Yeah.
We have to reduce as much as we can within our means. So that was my other little grain of sand.
Yeah. So I have to say that the COVID lockdown, you had a ball, didn't you?
I did, and I'm sorry for those people who had a terrible time. They lived in a small place. We're very blessed. We live in the countryside. We've got garden and outdoor area. And for me, the best thing you can say is you have no timetable. There's nowhere to be, and no time. So you
Yeah.
have all the time for yourself. And I'm thinking, wait, this is heaven. So
Yeah.
yes, I went down that rabbit hole when I decided to change into handmade soaps until one day you decided to read the label on one of them,
Yeah.
and I was horrified again.
So this was bought in a shop. It
It
was
was
handmade.
it was a
So
herbalist,
yeah,
yeah, and it was handmade soap, and it had chemicals in it.
a lot of chemicals. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, no, no, no.
Yeah.
So lockdown was very beneficial because I started looking at tutorials how to make your own soap,
Yeah.
and it went from there on.
And I have to say, we are talking about the Rolls Royce of soaps here, aren't we?
Oh yeah, because if we're going to use it, we use the extra virgin oils,
Olive oil and coconut oil.
coconut and cocoa butter, which is very expensive a kilo.
Yeah, and again, he's been on the show before. We're a very good friend, Jason Godwin
Jason.
from the Mayan Monkey Chocolate
Yes,
Factory.
yes, he's my supplier.
He's your supplier, yes. He normally says that he supplies addictive substances.
Yes.
Chocolate and coffee, you know. But he supplies you with the cocoa butter.
For the soaps, yeah.
From the chocolate
And then
factory.
I use all these mixes of essential oils,
Yeah.
which are also very beneficial.
Yeah, it's not just things that smell like.
No, they're not aromatic. They're pure essential oils.
Yeah.
And yes, it is a bit costly, but not as costly as if I had to buy them on the shop. And then I know what they've got. And actually, it was trial and error at the beginning until
Yeah.
it just got better and better. And now I'm starting to receive orders.
People.
Yes.
That's right. In fact, you were in the post office the other day
Yes.
sending some to a friend in the UK.
Yes.
And the girl in the post office says, "What are these?" You were filling out the import for or export form.
Yeah,
or
she
whatever
was
it is.
filling them out for me,
Yeah.
and she was
She
saying,
says-
"What is it?" And I said, "It's handmade soaps by myself." And she turned the envelope and she got a whiff because the essential oils,
Yeah, yeah.
the intensity. And she says, "Oh, they smell so good. So you make your soaps?" So we started chatting, and she said, and I told her about the ingredients and whatnot, and she was delighted. She says, "Can I have two?" So the next day I had to deliver two
Back
for
to the
her.
post office.
Yes,
The
back
girl
to
in
the
the post
yes,
office. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So, but you've also we talked about chemicals in food. You're also concerned about chemicals in let's say cosmetics, whether it's be soaps or
Shower gels, shampoos,
And
everything,
mi-
even shaving creams.
microplastics.
Yes, and
that are in these things. Yeah.
even the shaving cream you used to use.
Yeah.
Now I'm beginning to have testimonials about these soaps, and it's because they really are the Rolls Royce. I
Yeah.
mean, the ones that we shipped out to the UK is a good friend of ours who has sometimes problems in her skin due
Yeah.
to some hormonal disruptions. And what happens is that she regularly goes to her skin doctor or specialist, and the skin specialist says, "What are you using? Your skin is looking really good." And it was just this natural soap.
Right. Right.
And so she ordered some more because it's the first time she's used a soap with such good effects.
Right. And absolutely no chemicals in it.
Nothing
Yeah.
whatsoever. And just imagine if just 1 in every 10 person decided to use natural soaps, for example, how all the billions of people in the world,
Sure.
we would cut down a lot of this rubbish that ends up in the sea and
Pumping into the
with the
sea.
fish, and then we eat
Yeah.
fish because we think it's a healthier option,
Yeah.
and people don't think about that.
Yeah, I think half the fish are full of tranquilizers as well from people throwing
Medication
things down
down
the toilet. Yeah.
yes.
And,
No.
and the latest thing you've kind of branched out. Well, you make your own toothpaste as well. I
Yes,
should say.
another thing was about fluoride. People just go and research about fluoride, neurotoxin,
Yeah.
according to the BMJ.
Yeah.
It's now out there. A lot of people, especially the dentists, would
They would
yeah,
argue
they
that one.
argue that
I
one. I
know.
think there's a lot of indoctrination.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm not advocating for anybody else to do it. I'm doing it
Yeah.
myself.
And also your latest sort of what shall I say, project
Oh gosh,
has been interesting as well.
it
Yeah.
was a wonderful. I needed also kind of. After the shower, I use just coconut oil or sweet almond oil.
Mm-hmm.
I've got very dry skin,
Mm-hmm.
so I decided to create a body butter with cocoa butter that smells like chocolate, and
Yeah.
it's absolutely. It turns out this is the second lot, and you're using it.
Yeah.
What can you tell me
And
about it?
I look 10 years younger.
Well, actually, cocoa butter is an antioxidant, which is really good for anti-aging and for blemishes, these sunspots.
Yeah.
It actually gets
Lightens them.
yeah, lightens them.
Right.
So it's 100% natural, absolutely no chemicals in it.
And you looked at a jar of the kind of body
Body butter.
body butter or something, and this a commercial one.
Yes,
It was full of chemicals,
at
wasn't
least
it?
6 of them.
Yeah.
And what these people, if they just Googled these ingredients, or maybe DuckDuckGo, which is a better, Google is not really that reliable, is a bit biased. If you go to DuckDuckGo and you just type in any name of any of these ingredients, they're linked to breast cancer, they're linked to renal failure, to hormonal disruptions, to
Right.
it goes on and on. I was horrified.
Right.
I don't need to know all that. All I know is that it's not good for you.
You just prefer to use something that doesn't.
Yes, exactly.
Vicky, our time has gone.
My
Thank you
goodness.
very much. I think I might need to take you out for lunch now.
My goodness, yes, I'm starving.
Thank you very much. I know we've had these conversations, but I find it all very interesting, and I hope those who've been listening in today will find it interesting too.
Well, thank you for giving me a platform, Bill, because you know I'm a real advocate for healthy and conscious living, and I think it's nice that some people out there might be interested.
Yeah.
And if they are, they can contact you and
Yeah. You can contact me via the radio show.
Yes, exactly.
So, Vicky, thank you very much. And we're going to go out with another one of your favourites.
Oh, gosh, yes.
The Age of Aquarius.
Woohoo.
Have a lovely weekend, folks.
Have a lovely weekend.